Hi, and welcome back. And if this is your first time tuning in, I'm building Jinx the Wolf, or a family friend that lives about 2,000 miles away. This is my second fursuit build that I've done, so I'm definitely in the beginning stages of being a fursuit builder, but I'm having a great time learning along the way and documenting my progression. This is going to be the last episode for Jinx the Wolf's head build, but fear not, we will still need to build a tail and some paws, but those will be in a different episode. After doing the duct tape patterning on the ears and head, I sketched out the fur locations and put several identifying marks on each so that I can reassemble the ears and then the face. In general, and conceptually, this is super easy, but in practice, once you take all the pieces apart and lay them on the floor or desk, you can easily mistake where the pieces go, and sew them in the wrong position. Ask me how I know. I think on the neck pattern, I sewed one specific piece in the wrong spot 3 times. So take that as a word of caution, make very good notes, and take good pictures before you start cutting the pattern apart. Now that I've got my confidence up on having a symmetrical head, I finally decide that I can do a mirror image of the pattern, so that I don't have to duct tape the entire head and make 2 separate patterns. This way, I could just make a pattern on the left and flip it over for the right side. As I cut out the pieces, I realized that I could make a few extra notes on here, indicating what side of the ear that they are on. I'm sure some more advanced builders would be pretty disgusted in how my patterning looks. But what did I say earlier? I'm just a beginner. I'm not gonna lie, these husky furs, they're some of my favorite. They're so very soft. I began the patterning process on the fur by laying out the template that I'm working on to create the pieces for both a left and a right side from a single piece. For me, the sticky side up will indicate that the piece belongs on the left, and I mark the fur accordingly. I also ensure that the pieces are oriented with the fur grain laying in the desired position, typically pointing towards the extremities. I've been using a razor blade to cut through the backing, leaving just about an 1/8 of an inch to maybe a 3/16 of an inch for a seam allowance, which has been working pretty well. I'll be a little bit less chatty as the video goes, because a lot of this will be a little bit of a repeat from what's already been discussed. Now I keep these parts of the ears together, that way I can shave them as a single unit and not have to try to shave each individual piece. If you haven't tried shaving fur before, it is quite an experience because it's kind of a pain. One thing that I keep learning, and keep relearning, is that creating more seams isn't always necessarily a bad thing. For the ears, I have multiple sections that really could just be one piece, but the way it lays is so much smoother when I have very detailed separation and seam lines. And now comes the fun part of flipping all the pieces together, getting them ready for sewing. There is definitely a order to this, as if you sew the wrong pieces together at the wrong time, it could make problems later down the road. And now for the part that I've been dreading, trying to figure out how to do the face pattern. Personally, I kept trying to make this a very dark, kind of mysterious little wolf, but then I had to keep reminding myself of who this was going to, and what is their personality like. And I realized I needed to make it a little bit more spunky and full of life. So the large piece here on the face, it's eventually going to be a dark blue. That was a very difficult piece because I didn't make enough seams in it. So when I tried to lay it, it just never really laid right. So I ended up having to make seam lines on the fly, which turned out to be in horrible positions. And these are those dark blue pieces that just turned out to be atrocious, at least in my opinion. And this is me trying to figure out how this blue piece really kind of fits together because, oh, gotta go to the cell phone, check it out. Yep, I was right. Was I? I don't know. But the nose isn't the worst part. It's when it comes down to the face and around the eyes. Things just got really funky really quick. I tried to machine sew the muzzle piece, but it just turned into being kind of a pain, so figured I might as well hand sew this. It made the most sense. Now there's so much tugging and pulling and manipulating of the face here, because I'm just trying to figure out how this would really lay into place. And the back of the head here, this was another one of those spots I didn't really remember how I had it set up, so I tried pinning things and laying it, and it just didn't make any sense until finally I looked at my phone, and it all became clear. So you see me messing with this quite a bit. And here's me struggle busting, trying to figure out how to get the face onto the head. It was a lot of pulling and shoving, and in the end I just had to take it off the head stand. For gluing, I ended up deciding that I needed to set my reference piece, which was right above kind of the middle of the eye there. So once I set that, I was able to kind of set all the pieces into place. By the end of the build here, I think I ended up shaving Jinx maybe 4 times, just trying to get it nice and close. Kind of think that this is probably one of the scariest parts because you put all this work to get to this point, and if you make a wrong move with the razor, time to start over. While I was waiting for the hot glue gun to warm up, I decided to clean up some of these seams a little bit prior to gluing it down onto the head base. I'm just pointing out all the little pieces I need to still come back and hand sew. I don't bore you guys with that because, well, that's probably a few hours of time of just sewing. As we find ourselves at the end of this project, if you enjoyed it, please consider liking and subscribing. That way you can keep up to date on more of my projects as they come. As this wasn't a paid job, rather more of a fun job for me to practice on, did I take the artistic liberties too far and deviate from the reference too much? You be the judge, and let me know in the comments below. And as we bring this episode to a close, I'd like to thank my daughter once again for posing with Jinx. That way I can do some filming. Thank you again for watching, and please consider liking and subscribing. Thanks.